And welcome back to CTF Walkthroughs. I'm your host, Callie Surfer, and today we're going to be going through a easy rated box from TryHackMe. The title is Gaming Server, and in this box we are going to enumerate, and enumerate. There's also a cool privesc pathway at the end, but I'm going to save that for later. So without further ado, let's get on into it.
Listen closely.
And we're up and running here. I have a few things going on my screen. I've got the TryHackMe landing page on the left. It's an easy boot to root box for beginners. And on the right, I have my terminals, and I already am up and running a Python 3 simple HTTP server to serve any files that I need to transfer to our target. We'll kick it off with an nmap scan with the TAC capital F flag for the fast scan, and then we'll follow that up with a TAC scan for scanning all ports. We found pretty standard results here. 22 has an SSH service and port 80 has an HTTP service, so we're going to have to go ahead and do some more enumeration, which is going to be our theme for this box. We'll be poking around different areas of the target to find information that can help us to get into the box, get a shell on it, and then escalate our way up to the root user and grab our final flag. So let's go ahead and start our browse. And now we see that our landing page is Dragon, some kind of weird mythical gaming page. It reminds me of Magic the Gathering, and a bunch of links, but some of them might be fake links. So I'm just looking at the lower left corner of the screen to see where the links will take me to. And I did see an uploads box there. That could be interesting. Let's see what else we can find just by poking around. Archives, myths. And I put a TAC T4 for speed on that nmap scan of all the ports. In our transfer folder, we have a bunch of files already placed there. We're doing a dirb scan now to directory bust and feel out for any folders, any files on this server, and we'll try to map it out so we have a better idea of what we're dealing with here on our target. And I'm just going to go ahead and install zapproxy on this machine. Let's see if we have it already. And it looks like we don't, so let's install that. Today I'm running Kali Linux on bare metal. This is my host operating system is my Kali, so it works really well. Actually, it's my first time trying this. I usually use a virtual machine, and they are a bit clunky at times and don't work as well as if you're on bare metal. So if you do have an old laptop lying around that's still functional, you might want to just install Kali Linux on it, get it up and working, so you have a bare metal Kali to use when you're practicing to prepare for the OSCP or just for Just because you like doing CTFs, you might find that it works a little bit better than a VM in some cases. So now our Zap is booting up. The first time may take a little bit longer because it's upgrading and setting things up for us. And let's expand Zap out so we can see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and load up the browser that's connected to Zap. So I don't need to set up Foxy Proxy or any other thing. With Zap, it's already set up just to work. Just like with the built-in Burp Suite Chrome browser. Zap, I believe, uses Firefox as the default, but you can probably use Chrome as well. Okay, so now that I'm in my Zap browser, I can start to look at the History tab on Zap, and we'll just skip the HUD tutorial. That's something I want to do, but haven't gotten around to yet. And you'll see web pages and other interesting files, directories, etc. will appear under the history for everything that's accessed during our browsing session. And we can also use spiders that are built in to feel out for additional directories and files. And another cool feature of Zap, which is totally free and available to download for multiple platforms. The feature that I like here is that you can actually automatically look at flags. So it categorizes warnings and vulnerabilities on a scale of like severe to minor, and they're color-coded as flags. So if you hit any red flags, that's a pretty good thing to look at right away to get maybe a little bit of insight into something that might take longer for you to figure out if you're just manually enumerating a website. All right, so now I'm just attempting to log in via SSH. Just to see if there's anything that comes up like as a text header or anything that might give us some clues on how to get into the SSH portal. Okay, now I'm looking at the source code on the landing page, the index.html, and I see in green text there's a note left by the developers, and it mentions a person's name. So let's scroll down and look at that again. Because one of the things that we're doing right now is enumerating, looking for usernames and potential passwords or other hints about what the developers like or things that they might use in a password. And we see in green there it says, John, please add some actual content. It's horrible. Yeah, so John is a very likely going to be a username that we can use to get in the SSH portal with. So let's see what we can do here with Hydra. Hydra is a brute forcing tool that's sort of a Swiss Army knife for pen testers, and we can try to brute force in through SSH as the user John. We use the tac lowercase l for a specific username and the tac uppercase P for a password list. That's a list of lots of passwords, and we can just go through the list one by one and attempt to log in to SSH. And if it works, then we're in. So sometimes there's some speed throttling, or it may even shut you out after too many tries logging in that are denied. But let's just chance it here, we don't have to worry about breaking the site because we can always just reset it. This isn't a pen testing engagement. This is just a vulnerable machine. So we have no worries at all about screwing things up, breaking things, needing to reset. It's all good here. And I'm just going to do ls to see if we have the rocku word list, and it looks like we have. Did we extract yet? We have it as a zipped file. All right, let's try this command one more time with rocku, a very common password list in these kinds of things. And there it is. It's in our current directory, rocku.txt. And then our target is SSH : // and then our IP address. And here we go. We've kicked off our SSH brute force attack with rocku.txt, and we'll see how long it takes and whether or not we're able to get credentials here to log in. And we'll just let that run on our sub terminal on the right, and we're still keeping an eye on our dirb scan for any interesting directories, maybe hidden directories with weird names, anything that looks out of place and warrants us to look further into it, to enumerate more. And just copying down my command into my notes file for the record. That's our hydra command there, and here's our dirb command. And there is a robots.txt. Let's check that out right away and see what we can find there. Oh, there's an uploads. Allow uploads directory. We haven't gotten to U on our scan yet, but let's jump ahead and see what's in there. Take away the source and let's see. We have a dictionary.list. Okay, so it's setting us up for some kind of brute force. There's a manifesto.txt and a meme. So right away, the dictionary.list looks the most interesting because that would focus our brute force. So if we don't have any success with the rocku .txt word list, we can try this one. And maybe we should just go ahead and stop our rocku brute force and switch over to using this dictionary.list. But let's see what happens here. We'll first just dip into the other files and take a quick look and see if anything looks interesting or potentially helpful for us to get further into our attack. And take away that S, we'll stick with HTTP, and we'll be able to access that dictionary list. Looks like seasons and years, manifesto.txt, and it looks like a bit of a story here about hackers, something with criminals. I think this is probably just a distraction. So we'll set it aside for now. And the meme.jpg, probably nothing. There could be hidden steganography, hidden data in there. But let's just put that aside for now. And we've got our dictionary.list. Let's make sure we download that as a local file. And we'll stick it in our gaming server directory. And let's head back on over to our brute force attack that we're doing with rocku. We'll cancel that out with Control-C. And we'll boot up Hydra again, but this time, instead of rocku, let's use our dic.list there from the uploads directory. And this should be pretty fast. If I'm reading this hint correctly, we should be in a matter of seconds to minutes. All right, and we're up and running. Let's see how fast it is here. We're still logging in as John. Anything else of interest on our dirb results? Not seeing anything yet, but we'll just jot down in our notes that robots.txt revealed the uploads directory, which led to the dic.list text file being recovered and used for our brute force on Hydra as user John, which we learned from that developer comment on the landing page by looking at the source code. Let's see if my hunch is correct, and something should pop up on our Hydra. It'll probably be in bright green, so it'll be really easy to see, and it will say that we've found credentials. And in the meantime, let's download the meme and take a look at that meme if we can. So the picture doesn't reveal anything, but maybe something connected to the picture does. Metadata or something in pop culture maybe will lead us to a password or passphrase that we can use or mutate into a custom brute forcing word list. But first, let's give this just a few more minutes on the right and see if we can get in with that dic.list that we got from the uploads folder. And here we go. We found a secret directory and there's a secret key. Awesome. So this is an SSH key. It's a private SSH key. This is very sensitive data because we can save this locally, change the permissions to make it less accessible. We'll do a chmod 600 to get the appropriate permissions on our key.priv, and then we'll be able to use it as a private SSH key to log in. And the only thing we need to do is first extract a hash from this private SSH key and then crack it with a word list. We can use probably RockU or something else to crack it with John. That is John the Ripper, another tool that's indispensable for pen testers and CTF players. So here I'm attempting to log in with that private key as John, and let's see if it asks us for a passcode. And it says bad permissions, so we can't even get to that point yet. It is asking for a password. Let's see with Hydra, did we find anything? It says 0 valid password found. Okay, so now I'm thinking we've got this addict.list. Probably it's not for the Hydra brute force of the SSH, but it's for the cracking of the hash for this private SSH key that we just found. So this is a two-part process now to extract the hash and then crack the hash. So we'll be using a utility first. Should be called SSH to John. Let's see if we can get that up and running here. Yeah, first I'll change those permissions, chmod 600, key.priv. And then if I lsla key.priv, you can see that only the owner has read and write permissions. Okay, now it's asking for the passphrase because our permissions are correct, but we need to do that process first with SSH to John, and we see that we extracted the hash, no problem. Let's write that to a new file called hash. All right, now we have it. Let's use John now, and we'll use a word list of RockU, which is in this local folder, and then we'll crack the hash, and it should be pretty quick. Okay, it says loaded 1. It doesn't like the RockU.txt, but that's okay because we don't want to use RockU. We actually want to use that dict.list. There it is. And let's run that again. And we got it. So the key is let me in. Not a very good password or passphrase, but we got it now. So let's go ahead and log in now with the private SSH key and the passcode let me in as user John via SSH. So this all may seem a little bit cryptic if this is one of the first CTF walkthroughs you've watched. If you've done a bunch of these though, it is extremely familiar, and this whole process goes pretty quickly once you know which tools to use, how to line up the syntax so that it runs without erroring out, and then also so you understand the logic and the flow of the process. And we're in. So we just got our foothold as John, and the machine is, the host name is exploitable, and we have our user.txt, the first flag in our challenge. All right, I'll just make a note of that in my notes. And let's do some local enumeration now. Let's see what kind of privilege escalation pathways are available to us here. And because we used an SSH key to log in as user John, we don't actually know his password. So we're not able to check with sudo tack-l to see what kind of special sudo permissions were granted. Let's cat out the etc password file to see what other users might be on the machine. And I'm looking at the end of the last line, bin bash. That's us, user John. Bin bash means we have a shell, the bin bash shell, as that user, and it looks like no other users have bin bash. So we may be the only user on this machine that's outside of the root user. So that tells me we're probably looking to escalate to the root user here. So what other tricks do we have up our sleeve? Well, let's go ahead and do some automated enumeration. So we'll grab, let's grab linpeas. I'm CDing over to the temp directory because I know I have full write permissions there as any user in general. So there shouldn't be any hiccup with the permissions. And we'll use wget to grab this linpeas.sh file from our Python 3 simple HTTP server and output it as a file onto our local target box as user John in the temp directory. And we got it. So let's chmod +x linpeas.sh to make it executable. And then we'll just run it with a ./linpeas.sh. And we'll let that run, keeping an eye on the screen for anything that's of interest, anything in red or above. The highlighted red with yellow background is the highest level of vulnerability. So let's see if anything pops up that's highlighted. Oh, and there was something with a group, the sudo group. Scroll back up and see if we can find that. So you see a bunch of SSH keys, but those are not so interesting to us right now. There are two yellows here. It looks like there's an LXD and a sudo. LXD, if you Google it, you'll see that it's a kind of container. And that suggests that maybe we're in a container and we can try to break out of the container and become the root user. Let's look again and see what other things are in red and highlighted with a yellow background. And it might help if I made my window a little bit bigger so I can display more at a time on my screen as I scroll through here. And there's a dirty sock privilege escalation pathway. I love that name, so I'm going to see if I can pull off a dirty sock exploit. Hadn't heard of that one before. And there is the sudo group there of interest. It's probably not the common group here that you would usually see. Let's check on the dirty sock exploit. And in general, exploit-db is a pretty reliable resource that I've used. And links that go to GitHub with exploits are often interesting and useful, but not always. But it's a quick way to download a script and run it on a vulnerable machine where there's really not much risk of breaking it because you can always just reset the machine and start over. Okay. I've seen this CTF players write-ups before, OXDF hack stuff. It's been pretty good, pretty reliable, so I might use his guidance here, his or hers guidance. Don't know the gender of 0xdf. All right, and when I put in the command ID, I see that we're part of an LXD group there. So let's check out and see what this is. And yeah, I'm glancing at another person's write-up here, and I see that they use this pathway for privesc. So I'm going to just stick with this for now and see if I can figure out how to do it myself. I'm looking at Hack Tricks right now. They're also a really good resource when you're trying to do privesc or just gaining a shell on a target. They have a whole bunch of tips and tricks and strategies, and I've had great luck with their materials. So I'm looking through now to see how can we break out of a Docker that's running on this target machine. And there are some extensive instructions here. All right, so first I'm transferring over the Alpine file from my attack box to my target box. And it's kind of a large file, I guess. It's taking some time. Let's take a stretch break. Now I'm checking out the uploads directory. And back to our secret directory. That's where we got the SSH key, our landing page here, robots.txt. Just to quickly look through, that's where we found the uploads directory. And back to our uploads, the 3 files are still there. No surprises there. And thanks for sticking with me through this messy process. I'm trying to show you the entire hack from start to finish so that you get to see all the mistakes, mishaps, strange situations, crashes, all the things that can happen and go wrong when doing CTFs, and how to fix them and how to get steered in the right direction. So now let's look at lxc, the command, and see what we can do here. I'm copying straight from Hacktricks on the left. So I'm right now adding the image with the import command, the file name. Okay, and I think I previously added it, so we'll just check and see if it's there with image list, and it is. Next, we'll do lxc init alpine. lxc init. Let me just get my syntax correct here. My image, privesc taxi security.privileged equals true. Enter. Okay, creating privesc. Let's look at the list. We have a privesc now. We should be able to run it with the following command. And what we're doing now is breaking out of the Docker container that is running LXD. Mount root, and then recursive equals true. And invalid devices. Did I get the name wrong there? I put my device. Okay, let's see if we can jump to the last instruction there and execute the container. So lxc start privesc, and then lxc exec privesc bin shell. And sweet, we are root. We just rooted the box, and we should be able to find where our root flag is just by doing a bit of enumeration on this machine as user root. Let's see what we're dealing with here. We'll go into the mount directory. Looks like there's nothing there. Any hidden files? No. Let's try finding the file. Let's say it's called, type F is for file, tac name, root.txt, and we'll send the errors to a dev null byte, but it doesn't come back with anything. So let's try a different name. Okay, so we exited that root shell there without finding our root flag. So we need to get back in. I'm not sure why I exited. All right, let's try this one more time. Okay, I'm just saying yes for all those questions, even though I don't fully understand what I'm being asked there. That's okay. These are all details we probably don't need to get very deep into. Let's see if we can get back into our root shell now. We'll try this method right here. lxc import. All right, lxc init my image. Okay, so I previously created a container called ignite. Add ignite, my device, disk, and then source equals mount root, recursive equals true, I think it was. Yep. Okay, enter on that. Device already exists, that's fine. Next, lxc start ignite. And I think we could name this anything. It's already running, that's fine. lxc exec ignite main shell. And now we have a root, and we are root. We've got a root shell as root, and we should be able to look now. Now we have the root mounted properly, and we can go in and we got it. Here's our root flag, and we cat that out with the concatenate command and drop it in our notes. And then let's go and claim our credential, or our recognition here, our street cred, and we can level up on our stats on the TryHackMe site. All right, so there's our, oh, didn't cut and paste correctly. I'm going to have to upgrade my Vim so I have the system universal clipboard enabled. gvim is a good solution for that as well. Or Vim dash, I think it's GTK is the name of it, the one that has the clipboard functionality. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and install gvim so I can cut and paste like a pro. And there it's telling me vim-gtk3. That's the one that I want. We'll install that. Okay, now I got the name right. Click through the Y's for yes, install it. And let's open our notes up again with gvim. All right, I'm back in. I just used Vim though. Let's see if that clipboard functionality came through. So we'll use a colon plus Y for yank and yank that line, and let's see if it's now in our normal clipboard. And it is, good. So I think installing that vim-gtk3 actually added that functionality to my regular Vim editor. So I can use my clipboard now. Again, Control V for visual mode, and then quotation plus and Y for yank, and we'll put that line in the root flag. And of course we have to reload because the page crashed. It's been open for too long. Let's go back down and get our street cred. And now we've got our root flag. Whoop whoop. And backtracking, let's grab our user flag. Whoop, whoop, we got it. Congratulations. Thanks again for tuning in to this episode of CTF Walkthroughs. This has been a pleasure. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll catch you on the next CTF Walkthrough for more fun and games. Until then, take it easy. Bye.